I just filmed a decent amount of this and then got a text message and a phone call, stopped and looked at my camera and realized it was not recording. So that really sucks. Hi, my name is Erica and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a little personal, and it's a little bit of a story, women empowerment in a way. This is the story time of when I was held at gunpoint and got away. So I actually have some notes on my phone here because I tend to babble and I tend to talk fast. So I'm trying not to do that. And I just want to keep the order of everything just straight and in my head, so that's why I wrote the notes out, just because it was a traumatic experience obviously, and so sometimes I might forget some parts. So I took the liberty of basically going through and putting in everything in order, and I also wrote something that I want to read and kind of just start off with. So a little backstory. Around the time that this happened, I was at a really hard point in my life, and this happened in 2014, a couple of weeks after my graduation, by the way. I just moved into my first apartment. So this happened in 2014, and it's been a little bit of time now, so it's a lot easier for me to talk about, and I'm probably not going to cry and get emotional. I'm going to try not to. When I was filming before, I already started getting teary-eyed, but not for that, more about the fact of I basically have gone through a lot in my life and a lot of traumatic things. So it's odd, but something weird for me is this story time is going to be a lot easier for me to say than anything else that I've been through, because I have been through so much in my life. I've been through a lot of bad things in my life, so this compared to other things that I've been through seems smaller. I'm going to start just by reading what I have written here in this little paragraph. I can't believe that my first video to come back to YouTube and start my channel again is going to be this one. I filmed so many other videos and none of them have made it or been edited or done. Just for the reason of it's hard to put yourself out there, and I love YouTube. I did it for a long time. I've had a channel for over 7 years. I used to do like Sims videos and makeup tutorials and singing stuff and stupid stuff, and I actually have another channel that's hidden now, but it has a lot of videos on it from when I was younger, and it kind of just fell off, even though it was a big passion of mine when I went to like high school. I was so focused on broadcast communications. That's what I did, basically learning cameras and lighting and, you know, how to basically set up sets and take pictures and all of that stuff. So that kind of became my role, and I kind of fell off the YouTube bandwagon of what I had going, and so I decided that I wanted to come back eventually and just start documenting things, because I want to be able to look back and see how much I've grown and changed as a person over the next couple of years. And also I have a 3-year-old son, you know, so I'd love to just have the videos to document him and all of that stuff. So that's basically why I'm starting my YouTube channel back up, and a lot of my videos are just going to probably be random and just things I want to pump out. I love makeup, I collect it, lifestyle, that kind of stuff, documenting my life. So getting off topic already. I've been through a lot, and I'm strong, and no matter what happens in life, I believe you always have to keep going, and I believe that the experiences make you and mold you into the person you are meant to be. That is something that I highly believe in. I don't think that I would be the person I am today if I didn't go through, excuse me, I don't believe I'd be the person I am today if I didn't go through all of the traumatic things that I've been through in my life. And I know I'm a strong person, and I know I can get through anything at this point. So from now moving forward with my life, I feel like I can live it peacefully and the way I want to, and kind of now mold from here into the person that I want to be for the rest of my life. So this video is going to be hard to film, but at the same time it's not. It's weird how I feel about what happened. I never really got the feelings and talked it out before. I think about it all the time in my head, where these notes are really from my thoughts. but I never really got it out and talked about it besides people knowing what happened. Obviously, my mom posted pictures on Facebook of my head and everything, and I posted something about it, so people know that it happened to me, but a lot of people don't actually know what happened, which was sad because after high school graduation, a lot of people really like, it's so many friends, but that really shows you the true colors of people, because this happened to me and really nobody like reached out or really tried to see if I was okay. It was more of everybody just wanted the scoop of it, and yeah, that sucked. But I really never let anyone know how it's affected me, but I'm probably not really going to get into that in this video because this is a story time and I'm already have been talking for 7 minutes. To start off, like I said before, this was my first apartment. So I just moved in. I was supposed to move in with my best friend, and she was actually in South Carolina visiting her family, and she ended up not moving in with me. And now I was in this apartment for only a week. I knew the people that owned it. I actually worked for them for my first job. I live in like kind of a smaller city. That's where I was living, basically, was in the middle of the city. Didn't think it was as bad of an area because my city has gotten very bad, but I didn't think, you know, in 2014 when I'm 18 and stupid, I didn't think that it was that bad of an area. I had a secured locked door at the bottom, and my apartment was like the very top one. I was living in this apartment for a week, and it was really, really hot in this apartment. It was just like a living room with a kitchen attached to it, a little hallway. My bathroom was to the left, and then the end door was my bedroom, and the bedroom was fairly large. The bedroom had the only window in the whole place that I could stick an air conditioner, and at the time I did not have like the money to go get a brand new air conditioner. I had an old one from my grandfather's house when I lived with him, and there was one in the closet which didn't work, that was left behind by the people that lived there before me. So I just put the air conditioner in the one back window, but it was so hot, not only because it was summertime, also because I lived above a bakery restaurant and I lived directly above the kitchen, so it was just so unbelievably hot that I literally could not leave the bedroom because that air conditioner in the back did not reach enough to even cool any other part of the place at all. So I was just hot. The air conditioner sucked. It really didn't make it cold in there. And so I was just miserable and sweaty, and I wanted to get out of the house. So right down the road, not very far, a couple of blocks, is actually the place that I work. Well, I worked at the time, and I worked there for years, and I was a manager there, and at this time and point I was covering for a lady that had to get surgery doing the overnight U scan. So I was working overnight most of the time, and like I said, I just graduated high school, so I picked up full time. I was working constantly. I loved working there. I needed the money, obviously. My night started off, I remember dyeing my hair and doing my makeup and, you know, just getting dressed, and I knew it was so hot that I didn't even want to drive my car, you know, a couple of blocks. I decided stupidly that I wanted to walk. Had my car keys, I brought $1 and change and my house key to get a drink while I was at the store because it was a grocery store. And so I made my way out the door. And I don't know if this is really that relevant or not, but I remember when I walked out of the door, because the bottom door was secured with a lock, so I had to put the key in to lock it. I remember noticing the door was it looked bent, like somebody was trying to like get it open. And it wasn't like that when I first moved in. Now mind you, I wasn't even there a full week. Like I was there a couple of days. So I locked the door and I walked across the street, and I started walking, and I was actually texting one of my friends while I was walking, and I noticed somebody was behind me, kind of uncomfortably close in a way. I remember he had his hood up, and he had wired white headphones in, and he had jeans on and boots, and he kind of looked like he was just walking and listening to music, but he was kind of, like I said, like you know that like gut feeling you get? Like I had a weird feeling, like it was just so weird, like I knew something was wrong. And so I'm texting my friend and I'm like, hey, like I don't know if there's someone following me, like he's pretty close to me, like I was like here and he was like maybe like, you know, like right here, like he wasn't giving me kind of like walking space for how wide the sidewalk is. He could have, you know what I mean? So I knew something was going on and I knew something was up. And so I kind of started walking a little bit faster because at this point I'm getting a little nervous because I already am kind of an anxious person. Like I said, I've been through a lot of stuff before, so I'm cautious. And so I started walking a little bit faster and he kind of started walking a little bit faster. And then I really was like feeling weird, you know? So I kind of moved like over, like tried to like sway over to see if he'd just pass me. And I just kind of kept walking, but a little bit like at the normal speed I was going the first time, and he kind of didn't. So I was just like a little weirded out then even more, and I started texting my friend like, I really think someone's following me. He's really close, it's kind of uncomfortable. And at this point my friend really wasn't answering me back. So I don't know. I just realized, I noticed then by the time that we got to the block where there's a like the bank was, he turned down that street, so he ended up leaving. And then I was like, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm so like, I'm silly, I'm stupid, like I'm just paranoid, he's not following me, you know. He turned away, slowed down a little bit, texted my friend something. I walked at more of like a normal slower pace because then I felt fine, until he came right back and he turned back up behind me. And at this point I knew something was wrong because then he was very, very close to me, way closer than he was before. And he ran up to me, he put his gun into my back of my hoodie, and he told me that if I screamed he was gonna shoot me and to start walking. And he kind of like pulled me. He like grabbed my hoodie and kind of like to hide the gun because like I said, we were on like a main strip. There was cars coming, like traffic. But at this point, I wasn't going to be stupid and like try to wave somebody down to help me because it was late. It was about 1 in the morning. So it wasn't as much traffic, and I didn't want to do anything dumb and make him mad. So he grabbed my hoodie and he grabbed his hoodie and he kind of like put the gun like into my side, but like had me grabbed so it looked like we were walking together. And then we got to the Salvation Army, which is where I would make my turn to go to my job, which is a straight shot from there, not very far. Like I don't really know how to explain it. It's a distance, but it's not like a crazy distance, you know. So we get to that corner and I kind of stop on the corner and he was pushing me to go. He's like, go, go, go. I'm like, okay, this is a one-way alleyway. There's not going to be anyone that can see. And I kind of already got the vibe of what he was trying to do. I am going to say this in this video. I have actually been raped not once, but twice before. And sexually assaulted as a child on top of it. And I kind of just knew. Like, I just had the feeling. I'm getting a little teary-eyed. Okay. So, I kind of knew. I knew something was up. I knew something was weird. So, I stopped right at the parking lot. Like, the Salvation Army is right here. There's a little road to go down, and then there's the alleyway, and then there's this parking lot that has this like high drop off. So like this is the main road, the parking lot's like down here, and there's actually steps you would need to go down, but you have to walk around to do that. So I stopped right there. There's like a sidewalk there for walking. I stopped there and I turned to him, even though he had a gun to me. I turned to him and I said, what do you want? I don't have anything for you to take. I have $1 in change and I have my keys. And I pulled my keys out and I showed him and I was like, this is all I have. So basically, you know, trying to let him know, like, if you're going to rob me, you're not going to get anything from me. And at this point, he says, shut up. And he points, you know, he's pointing the gun at my face. He's like, shut up and go in the alley. Like, he wanted me to push that way. But at this point, I'm thinking everything in the back of my mind. Either he's going to hurt me, he's gonna rape me and kill me and leave me in the alleyway, or there's gonna be a van, because I saw that van earlier, which is where I think that he came from, and the van's gonna be waiting for me in this one-way alley and they're gonna shove me in it, because this alleyway is kind of hidden off compared to the rest of like the city part, because there's actually a big parking like lot over to this side with like a whole bunch of stores and stuff, but then around this alley when you turn it's tight. Maybe I'll get a shot of it so that I can insert the footage into this. That's actually a good idea. I probably will film that today. Just so you can kind of see like what I mean by this. So the alleyway has like trees and brush behind it. So I knew that if that happened, I would be screwed. So I don't know what hit me or what came over me. I saw a car, and the car was waiting at the light to turn down the road that we were standing on. And at this point now, the gun is clearly out and it's clearly being pointed at my face, and I didn't want to be raped again. I didn't want to have to go through that. I didn't think that at that time of my life, I did not think that I could handle it again, because like I said, I've dealt with it before, and I was in a bad spot in my life already for this to be happening to me again, or something to happen to me traumatic again. And so this is where the women empowerment thing comes in. I saw the car, and this all happened so quick, but it feels like slow motion to me, you know? So I saw the car, and I looked at him, and this is after I said all of this stuff, and he tells me to go in the alley. I kind of shoved, well, he pulled my hoodie, and it pissed me off. Like, the way he did it, it wasn't like he was pulling me before. He took the hoodie, and he, like, yanked it, like, trying to rip me in the alley at this point, and I got pissed. And, you know, I'm not the tiniest girl, and so he was bigger than me, he was definitely heavier than me, and he was much taller than me, but whatever it was, that tug and me seeing that car and hearing it pissed me off. So I took my fist and I punched him directly in his face, right in his nose, like right here, as hard as I could. And I turned around to run, and the drop-off is there, and I'm not thinking about this drop-off. I'm more focused on the fact that I see the car coming and I wanted to get away. And when I turned to run, he ended up hitting me over the back of the head with his gun. Split my head open. I didn't know this because I had so much adrenaline, so much going on. I didn't even really feel the pain. I think when he hit me, I blacked out for a brief second. So when I was falling off of this drop off that's here, like this, onto this other pavement platform, I kind of blacked out. Everything was dark. All I remember hearing was the sound of the gun in slow motion, sounding like a lead pipe in the movies hitting the ground. Like it was so weird. And as soon as I hit the pavement, I woke back up, I opened my eyes, and this scream, this shriek came out of me. And I didn't even do it, like it just happened by itself, it just came out. And I screamed bloody murder. And at that point, in my head, somebody had to have heard me, because I screamed so loud. And like I said, it's a city and there's stores around. It was dark and late, but there are stores around and there's people around. So see the gun, and it's laying on the ground, and he's laying on the ground. He kind of fell with me, obviously, because he just, like, he went to hit me and he slipped over it, so we both fell. I seen the car. At this point, the car is right next to me, and I'm laying on my back on the ground, and he's like there, and I scream, and I got up, and I just took off towards the car. And he, as that was happening, I saw him pick the gun up, put it in his hoodie pocket, and he turned around, put his hood back up, and walked up the stairs to get into this parking lot and made his way up the one-way alley. And then I run in front of this car, ran in front of him, and I'm like, help me, please, you know, like I needed help. I didn't even realize I was bleeding as bad as I was until I'm like this, because I could feel the pressure on my head. But like I said, I had so much adrenaline that like it didn't hurt. It was the weirdest thing. But then I see like I have blood on my hand, and you know, I'm asking him to help me, and this goes around me, literally takes, like, this is me screaming for help, this is him, he goes whoop, 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 right around me. And at this point I'm so scared that he's gonna come back and get me because he sees the car left. I turn around and I booked it towards my job. Like, I booked it. I ran so quick through that parking lot and I did not know what to do. And as I'm doing this and this guy goes around me, I'm on my phone and I'm dialing 911 and I'm hysterically crying and I don't know what to do and I'm confused, and it was really horrible, but I got away. I got into the building and I didn't stop and say anything to anybody. I walked right over to my friend's apartment and I'm on the phone with the police, and I don't know the address for my job, I just know what it's called. So I'm on the phone telling 911 where I am, and they don't know where I am, and I'm trying to make it as clear as I can. I'm telling them the store, like, I'm at this store, this is where I am. Like, I'm trying to explain this to them. And they finally ended up figuring out where it was. And I remember they asked me his description, and as I'm telling them the description, my friend walks over and sees me, and she just has this look on her face, like, you know, like this look. And I'm telling them like what he was wearing, what I remember him wearing, the jeans with the boots with the hoodie, the shirt with the logo on it, like that's what I remember. That he was a black male, maybe, you know, he's a couple inches taller than me, a little bit bigger than me. And she looks at me and she goes, he was just here. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I'm explaining to them, you know, whatever, and they say an officer's on the way, just stay put, yada yada yada. Okay. So I kind of was ignoring them at this point then. They tell me an officer's on the way. She wants me to sit down, so she takes me to sit me down, and there's, it's summertime, so they were selling patio sets. So I'm sitting in the patio set, the overnight manager comes running over to me, and he gives me a whole bunch of gauze, and he's putting it on my head, and he's making me hold it there. Still at this point, do not realize how bad I was bleeding. And I will insert pictures. I'm gonna put a little thing up before I put the pictures up, just saying that they're graphic and giving a warning. Basically, I'm waiting for the police to get there, the police officer, and she's standing at the door and she's snapping out and she's telling Jason, my manager, that the guy was just in here. He walked in. This is the kicker, actually. I'll tell you this part. So like I said, I worked overnight at the U-Scan, and this is how they figured out, the police and me, basically, that he was stalking me. He knew where I lived because he was stalking me. He walked into the store. They have this on camera, so this is how I know. He walked into the store, looked around at the U-Scan area and around the registers, did not see me, and walked out of the store. And as he was walking out, in his dumb idiocy, pulled his hoodie back, so we had a clear as day picture of his face. And that was one good thing that came out of it, besides me getting away. Okay, so I'm waiting for the police officer to show up. He ends up showing up. I am traumatized by ambulances, so I refused to take them. So the police officer walked in and he saw me. I was sitting right in front of the doors, like I said, and his first thing he wanted to do was get me to the hospital because, as I said again, I was a blonde at this time. Did not realize how much I was actually bleeding. Did not see my reflection, didn't know what I looked like. I just saw that there was blood on my hand. Didn't feel it on my back, like none of that. So I told him I was freaked out. I didn't want to take an ambulance. Hospital luckily is only about 2 to 3 minutes away from the place that I worked at. So he was very concerned about me, and this police officer, I can never ever ever thank him enough and say good things about him, because he really treated me like I was his daughter. Like, that's how he treated me. He took me as quick as he could, got me in his car, I had to sit in the back, unfortunately, but he let me sit in the back. He made sure I was comfortable. I sat behind him. He kept talking to me basically the whole ride, and as I'm on my way, at this point it's probably about 2 in the morning, I call my mom, I tell my mom what happened, I tell her that I'm on my way to the hospital with the police officer. They're still looking for this guy as this is happening, because the guy escaped on foot and they have his description, so they're out patrolling looking for him, and while this cop is trying to take care of me, which he very much did. So at this point I didn't want to be alone. I was scared. So the police officer stayed with me and sat with me while the nurse came in, and she first, you know, just took a look at it to see how bad it really was, had me take my hoodie off, which at this point I actually have the hoodie to show you. This was the hoodie I was wearing when it happened. It's just a Vans hoodie. The whole back of this hoodie was stained with blood. Like, this whole thing was covered with blood. And I did not realize I was even bleeding that much. I mean, it wasn't that big of, I mean, it was a big split. It was right here on my head. I could always find it. As soon as I put my hand up, I know where it is. It wasn't that big of a cut. I got 5 staples I ended up getting in my head, but this whole thing was blood soaked. So I think that's kind of why everybody was so freaked out. And I had blonde hair, like platinum blonde, and my hair was just drenched. Like I said, you'll see the pictures, and my neck and like some of my face was just covered in blood, and my hands, and it was like, it was bad. So she came and she kind of took a rinse and she cleaned some of the blood off of the area, and she put some numbing stuff on it. And at this point, my mom arrived. So the police officer stepped outside of the curtain and talked to my mom for a minute. My mom came in, and you know, my mom got there, and then I started crying, and she just held me, and I told her everything that happened. And I had to go because I fell off of that drop off. They were scared I broke something or I hurt something, so they wanted me to go get x-rays done. So the lady ended up putting some numbing spray on the spot. I had to let that sit for I think 15 or 20 minutes, she said, and my Nana ended up showing up too because my mom called her, because that's the person I'm basically closest with in my life. So they both were there for me, and you know, I just kind of explained what happened. They talked. My mom took the pictures that she needed to take of everything, of the wound and everything, and then the nurse lady came in. She gave me 5 staples, like I said, which hurt worse than anything. Her pulling the skin back together and stapling it was literally horrifying, and it hurt so bad. And my whole entire body at this point, because the adrenaline was kind of, the adrenaline was wearing off. I was just in pain. Everything was sore, and I had to go get x-rays done. And the nurse was so nice, and the police officer was so nice. He walked me to the x-ray room, followed me behind in the wheelchair. And then I had to go in there with the lady, and the lady made me feel as comfortable as she could because she knew I was traumatized. So they had to take pictures of basically my skull and my bones from about my waist up. They did my back, making sure everything was okay. Thankfully everything was okay. I didn't break anything, I didn't hurt anything else. It was just the head injury. I had some bruises and scrapes on my legs and everything from falling and cutting myself on the pavement, but the worst was the bash on the head. So I ended up getting all of that taken care of, and staples done, and then finally the police officer left. He gave my mom contact information. If I needed anything, he said he was there for me to just call him, if I could think of anything else, because they wanted to try to like draw a description of the guy, which they ended up actually, like I said, I told the police officer that my friend said that the guy ended up coming to the place I worked and that we had cameras. So at that point my manager was in the security room looking through the footage and ended up screen capturing the picture of the guy. So the police had that. That's basically the story. That's what happened. Yeah. So like I said, it sucked a lot, and it was traumatic, and then there was shit afterwards that happened, and that sucks. So after that happened, the next day, basically I didn't want to stay at my apartment anymore. That was the first thing I said. I didn't feel safe there. I didn't feel comfortable. I did not want to go back. I did not want to spend another night there. I did not want to. I hated the apartment the way it was. Now I felt completely unsafe. I realized he was stalking me because of my work, and he knew where I lived, and I realized that the door was bashed in and bent, and it wasn't locking right. So at this point I didn't feel safe, and like I said, I was only at this apartment for a couple of days, which I spent a hell of a lot of money to pay to get the first month's rent, last month's rent, and the security deposit. You know, it took a lot for me to get everything together and buy all of the stuff I needed for the apartment on top of it, and get the electric bill turned on, or the electric turned on in my name. And I spent so much money, and I was pissed, and I just didn't want to be there. So my mom took me home to my house, which is where I was living. Most of my furniture was even still there, like my bedroom, like my bed and everything was still there. I was sleeping on the floor. I was only at this place 3 or 4 days. So I stayed there, and my mom stayed with me, and then the next day she had to go to work, I believe. She wanted to know if I was going to be okay, and you know, I told her, yeah, I'd be fine. You know, I had my phone. I felt safe at my mom's house. It's not in the city, it's on the outskirts of the city. It's in a good area, safe area, in the middle of basically nowhere. So I felt okay. So my mom left and I needed a shower because at this point I still had blood caked in my hair. There's still blood on me. After all that happened, I just went to her house and I went to sleep, and it was probably almost 4 or 5 in the morning. So I slept, and then I got up and I went to shower, and I had my first breakdown in the shower. I was fine until I got to the point where I needed to wash my hair, and I went to like touch my head, and like I just felt the staples and the blood. I saw the blood coming out and going into the drain, and I freaked out and I just lost it. Like I hysterically started crying, and I couldn't understand why this had to happen to me, why things happen to me that have happened to me over and over, and like why I have such bad luck. And I ended up calling my Nana, and you know, having she calm me down, and then I was fine. And then later on that day when my mom got back, we had to go to the police station because they wanted to do a lineup. This is the part that pisses me off. I think it was so fresh in my brain that when I did the lineup the next day, I looked at the photos and I saw him, and I just stared and stared, but I didn't want to ever get anyone in trouble, and I wasn't 100% sure because I was so traumatized by everything else that happened that the thing I mostly remembered was the outfit he was wearing, which I was spot on for because I saw the picture, but I didn't have the picture. I saw the picture, but everything was just so foggy and cloudy, and at this point I was so messed up and paranoid and scared and anxious and just balls of emotion that I ended up telling the officer that I didn't see the guy. I don't think, you know, I said to him, like, I think it's this guy, but I'm not sure. But, you know, the police officer doing his job cannot guide me or coach me or say, are you sure? Or anything like that. So, you know, I just kind of said no, I didn't see him, and I ended up letting it go. And then I did a couple of more lineups, and the lineups just didn't work and didn't work. And so I think I went to, like, the 4th lineup. I told the police officer, I said, you know, I said, I really cannot get, well, I told my mom first. I told her, like, I really think that in that first lineup that was the guy because I just had a feeling. It just looked like him, like I felt it, you know. So my mom ended up saying something to the police officer, and unfortunately, because of the way that the world works, because I said that it was not him the first time, unless they found any sort of evidence like the gun with my DNA on it or something on that guy, or it was used in another crime, they cannot arrest him because I said no the first time, which I think is total bull. He said he was sorry and that he really thought it was him too, and then he went on to explain the reason why he suspected him because he fit the description. I'm sorry if I'm not looking like straight at the camera. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, if I'm just being awkward. It's like I said, I'm shy and I'm crying and this is emotional for me and weird to talk about. So basically the guy got away. They never caught him. 4 years later. Yes, I still feel uncomfortable sometimes. Yes, I think about it. Yes, I have nightmares about it, but it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So I'm kind of at peace with it in a way. For the longest time, I was so mad at myself. Now, for the rest of my life, I have to sit there and worry about if he ever does it if he's ever done it to anybody else, or if he's gonna come back and find me because I hurt him and I got away, and you know, it just sucks. But that's basically everything that happened. So nowadays, I'm handling it a lot better. I still have my bad days sometimes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening if you got this far. I really appreciate it. I would really appreciate it if you could like this video. If you want to subscribe, that'd be really cool. I plan on posting a lot more. Maybe more story times. I don't know if I want to get that personal for a little while now. This is a pretty personal video for me to be putting up in the first place as my first video, but you know, if my story can help anybody feel a little bit better, or if anything's ever happened to you that's similar and you ever need someone to talk to, I am here and you can message me. I'll leave my Instagram link down below, so you can, you know, message me on there if you'd like. I really, really, truly appreciate it if you watch this whole video and listen to my story and what happened to me. This thing on.